Welcome everyone to NAPW's e-coaching networking event, Confident Steps to Create a Thriving Life. E-coaching has taken the stage, not only fostering real-time networking, but also assisting our members through focused topics to move the needle professionally. Through live events hosted by our VIP NAPW members who are professional coaches, we couldn't be more excited to be offering you more networking and professional development opportunities in 2017. Since we only have 30 minutes today, I want to get our session started by introducing you to this session's coach. Debbie Luxton, who is a professionally trained life coach, John Maxwell team leadership coach, author, and women's retreat leader. Debbie serves as the Community Outreach Director for the NAPW St. Louis chapter and is the owner of One Life to Thrive and Debbie Luxton Coaching. With over 30 years' experience building and leading corporate and volunteer teams, Debbie and her husband have led their local Celebrate Recovery ministry for 11 years. Debbie is also releasing her first book, Choose to Thrive, Conquering Your Inner Conflicts. Debbie's passion is to help women who lead, live out the God-given impacts they were created and designed for. Good afternoon, Debbie. Come on and join us here on the screen.
Good afternoon, Louise, and good afternoon, ladies. We ready to go?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today, and I thank NAPW for having me on as well. So our topic today is confident steps on a path to a thriving life. And it fits right in, of course, we've been talking about confidence this month at NAPW. And we know that confidence is a critical topic for women because we wear so many hats. We feel enormous pressure, and we're enormously driven to keep all these balls in the air. And, of course, there's the reality that so many people are depending on us. The problem is all this constant juggling of life makes us feel like a jack of all trades and a master at none. Thus, the confidence conundrum that we've been focusing on this month is a very real result that we struggle with. So what we want to do is what we're going to talk about today. We want to implement solid steps and processes that build a foundation resulting in a thriving life. Now I'm going to jump right in here. I want to let you know that you'll see me looking down at my notes a lot, and that is by design because we are unlimited time. We want to respect and honor your time to the 30 minutes that we've committed, so I've got to stay on point, so I will be looking at my notes a lot. So the first thing we want to do is let's consider what a thriving life is. And when we're thriving, here's the thing. When we're thriving, we are confident, and we have serenity in the midst of the ups and downs that life delivers to us, and we have them every day. The main thing is, too, that we're comfortable in our own skin. We have great willingness to step out and into the calling that we were each designed for. So the results of putting solid steps and life processes in place is you that has authentic contentment, peace, and joy. So you're not trying to muster up being happy all the time because you've got real joy existing inside of you when you're thriving. It's the confident you and that you know where you're headed, and you're very confident in that. So let's jump right into these steps, and I see we got the first slide up here. So these are our steps again, confident steps on a path to a thriving life. The first step we have is to reflect. The purpose of reflection really comes down to two things, gratitude and growth. When we're thankful, it has a direct effect on our attitude and our mindset. Reflection helps us realize all that we have to be thankful for. So it's not just the surface level. Sure, we're thankful for our house and our car and the things that we can readily see, but there's so much deeper that we can realize, and we can dig deep when we're in reflection. Reflection provides the ability to see where we want to make life adjustments. You know, sometimes, and really most of the time, we're just too much in the thick of what's going on in our world, and it's really hard to see where we might just need to tweak something or make a minor adjustment. Sometimes those adjustments are bigger, but taking time to reflect helps us to see that. Reflection keeps things in proper perspective. So we don't get so caught up in the things that we tell ourselves that just simply aren't true. Things like, you're not good enough. How many times have we all heard that message rolling around in our head? And we have got to shut down those negative Nelly thoughts, ladies, that we have. Reflection helps us to see truth. It helps us to step back and look at what's really true here. And it's always a lie that we're not good enough, okay? You're more than good enough. So we don't want to listen to those things, and when we're doing good reflection, then it helps us to be confident, and our confidence doesn't get stolen by those negative thoughts. So you see a quote here on the slide that I want to read, and I can't say enough about this quote. I hope that you'll take note of it, and it is a great quote to use in your reflection time. It says, without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful. A quote there by Margaret Wheatley. It's an excellent quote to ponder and to use in your reflection time. Now, I want to leave you on this particular first step. I want to leave you with some tips for a good reflection process. First of all, schedule your reflection time. Ideally, it would be when you won't have interruptions, like early in the morning or late in the evening. It's a good idea to have your values, those things that you've written down, your core values, your goals, your life purpose or mission statement, so that you can take a look at those and consider where you are. I believe in having a journal next to me. Journaling is a process that I believe very strongly in, and it does not have to be just one more thing to do. It can be done on whatever consistency works for you. But it's a great way to reflect on what you've previously written down and what you're hearing and where you're going. You want to pray and listen and write down what comes to you. And you want to consider your awarenesses, those things that you're hearing, again, where you've been, where you're going, and any particular relative action that you might need to take. So we're going to move on now to the second confidence step for your thriving life, which is your theme. I love themes, and the purpose of knowing your theme is to set your overarching direction. Now, it's very common that people will set themes at the beginning of a year. That's not necessary. That is a good time. But you can set a theme anytime, and your reflection process helps you know. When you're hearing something consistently, you've probably got a theme that's rising up, and that can exist for a season of time, whatever that season looks like. It's common. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just note that you have a poll question that's up here. Do you make use of having a theme to inspire and guide you? Yes or no there. And we'll come back and look at those results. Your theme can be just a word, or it can be a phrase. It's great for bringing clarity and focus to why you do what you do. It's great for inspiration. My theme for this year, and I did set it at the beginning of this year, it's one word, and it's the word reality. And when I first thought about that word, I had to really ponder that a little bit. It didn't really make great sense to me in the beginning. However, I had a book that just released yesterday, and that book has a lot of my personal story in it. There's a whole lot of reality going on right now. We're going to talk at the end here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a retreat I have coming up. I've been doing retreats for years, but I've always done them locally. Now they're moving out of state. There's a whole lot of reality in that. So sometimes we do have to sit and ponder on what we hear because it might not make great sense at first, but then it should resonate with you. And where you currently see yourself, your passions, your goals, and where you're headed. So like I say, with reality, I have a lot of things coming to fruition this year, and I can really see how that word reality is a great reflection that's setting my true north and my direction. Your theme should challenge you. It should even scare you a bit, okay? It should definitely grow you. I've got a lot of growth going on. And again, I know we've said this and it's right there on your slide, but your theme sets your true north. And again, just remember it's for whatever season that it covers. Also, what you want to do with your theme is you should post it in places where you see it often. You might use it on a dream board. So just to take a look at our poll, this is interesting because we've got about half and half. About half of you are saying, yes, you use a theme. Awesome. And some of you are saying that you don't. Well, that might be something that you want to consider looking at and perhaps taking some reflection time to consider if you've got a theme you want to set. All right, the third step that we want to move on to is plan. Now, planning is kind of an interesting paradox to me because a lot of times we feel like we don't have the time for really good, deep planning. But when we don't plan well, our lives definitely feel the impact of it. So planning is important. The benefits of good planning, and these are the 3 bullets that are listed right there on the slide that you can see. You step outside of your perceived limitations, and that word perceived is very important. You use creativity to look at greater possibilities. And I want to stop after these 2 just for a minute to say, as I talked about my theme for this year and the book coming out, moving my retreats out of state, this is all big stuff going on. And good planning helped me realize that the limitations that I thought I was seeing, those can be overcome. They were perceptions. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be some tough things that come up that we learn how to maneuver and that we get help with. Of course, that's what planning is all about. But I could see the greater possibilities of how this book was going to impact my life, my family, and, of course, my business, and the greater possibilities with all that. So these are great benefits of good planning. The third one there, it really builds your commitment to your goals and to your life purpose. And your life purpose, ladies, is all about the impact that you're called to make on this world. So it really, when you do good planning, it really deepens and really builds your self-confidence. Now, here's some helpful points about good planning. And the first one, I call it values-based goal setting. So we're all familiar with the SMART goal process. Been around for years. We're all very familiar with that. And with my clients, I do use SMART goal setting, but I've added in to the form and to the process values-based. And what that means is that those goals are definitely in alignment with your core values. And when you're considering obstacles that come up, how you will maneuver those and keeping yourself in alignment, because when we get into a rub with our core values and where we're going, that definitely hinders our ability to be confident and to step out and take action, which is something we're still going to talk about yet. Another helpful thing about good planning is the consideration for necessary boundaries and accountability. Boundaries is one of those words that either causes you to think about fear or says, yeah, that's something I need to do, and or something you may be doing. But it helps you to consider what can be eliminated, because here's the thing, again, we're so involved in our very busy lives that we often can't see things that can be eliminated. We think everything is a priority, everything has to be done, and oftentimes it's really not true, and deep planning helps us to see that. It helps you to count boundaries and accountability, help you stay on the path that you've set your goals for. Good planning helps you to evaluate, and I mentioned this a while ago, but evaluate potential obstacles and to create backup plans for mission-critical activities. There are things that, as we're walking down this path, that are mission-critical to accomplishing our goals, And so in the planning process, we want to be able to see those. We want those to rise up, and we want to have those backup plans for what we can do to ensure that the mission-critical activities take place. You want to have a process for ongoing review of your plans. You want to do that consistently. That's important because that avoids the whole out of sight, out of mind that can happen. And then good planning keeps those feelings of chaos and just losing control. It keeps those things at bay, especially when you're reviewing your plans on a consistent basis. All right, moving on to our fourth confidence step towards a thriving life. The fourth one here, and let me move us forward, is to prioritize. Now, the bottom line of prioritizing is clarity and commitment. We all know that time is the most valuable, non-renewable resource that we have. So it really is important that we are prioritizing those things that we value the most. When we continually choose, let me back up. We continually choose what is our priorities, what we're going to spend our time on every moment of every day. Sometimes that's a thought that we kind of have to wrap our heads and our hearts around because we think, and it's true, we've got so many people and so many things that are constantly wanting our time that we feel like we don't really have a whole lot of choice in where we spend our time, but we really do. Now we have another poll that's come up here. Does your calendar reflect the things that you say are your priorities? Absolutely, sometimes or none at all. And while you're filling that out, we'll go forward here. The bottom line is this. If it's truly a priority, it should be scheduled on your calendar. And it should be honored then as a true priority. We do tend to honor the things that we put on our calendar because we kind of live by those these days. And so it's important that they're scheduled. But you have to stay flexible too and reschedule when you have a priority interruption, I call them. So let's say, for example, that you set time aside to work on a project and your child comes in, maybe you're working from home and your child comes in and they've been hurt. Well, that's a priority interruption. That's got to be taken care of. Or you're in the office and your boss comes in and says, we've got a hot mess that we've got to take care of. Well, that's a priority interruption that's got to be cared for. But then you go back to your calendar and you say, oh my gosh, I set this aside, and you start kind of beating yourself up. You have to give yourself grace, reschedule it, and just move forward. Now, if there's a constant rescheduling that's going on, then there's something more that's got to be looked at. Maybe your prioritization is just not in the right time frame. There's more that you need to consider. I love this quote that we have on the slide by Stephen Covey. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And that could really say schedule what you value most, because that's what priorities are all about. So I can't say enough about that one. But as we look back at our poll here, the majority says that sometimes we schedule priorities. Ladies, the processes and the steps that we've been talking about with looking at our theme and having our reflection time and going through good planning, those will help to move that sometimes to more in that absolutely category. And those of you that said not at all, I really hope that you'll be able to take a look at this. And, this particular quote by Stephen Covey is a good one to put up in front of you and help you in your reflection time. All right, we need to move on to the next confidence step, which is execute. So we're going to start by looking at this really long quote that is on your slide by Paul J. Meyer. And this quote says, crystallize your goals, make a plan for achieving them, as we talked about, and set yourself a deadline. Then, with supreme confidence, determination, and disregard for obstacles and other people's criticisms, carry out your plan. That's a really long quote, but there's a ton of meat in that quote. And I like it so much because he brings out clear commitment. And when I think about this quote, I think about the 3 C's to successful outcomes. Those 3 C's are courage, confidence, and commitment. So we should have another poll coming up that's going to ask you which of these 3 C's do you struggle with when it comes to taking action. And while you're filling that one out, planning and execution, when it comes to success, those things go hand in hand. Good planning clarifies the where, the when, the why, the how, what you need for great execution. And again, you want to have a good process. I know I've said this a couple times, but it's so important. A good process for ongoing review of your plans and your goals. And we know that when we talk and don't take action, we rob ourselves of confidence, and we rob ourselves of having that thriving life. And it's interesting, as we look at our poll results here, we're actually not too far apart, but we do have the majority that is in the area of confidence that we're struggling with. So execution is very important because it builds and maintains that self-confidence. Even when the result is not really what you were looking for, just the fact that you stepped out. We have to keep doing things, and we have to keep taking some risks. Those things continually build confidence. So thank you guys for answering that poll. That's a great one. And a great point that I want to make sure that falls into this whole execution thing is don't forget to celebrate your victories, ladies. That's important. And even when the result isn't quite what you thought it should be, there's victory in there, even if it's just the victory that you stepped out and took the chance. Typically, though, there's other victories because there's always growing and learning when we're executing. So 2 final points that I'd like to leave you with about taking action is, first of all, to keep it real. We want to always be realistic about where we're going. Even risks have a realistic element to them. And again, you want to give yourself grace. We're all going to have times of not fulfilling our plans the way that we had hoped, but it's not about failure. It's about strength and moving forward. So give yourself grace when it's not exactly what you were looking for. All right, moving on to step number 6, accountability. The simple purpose of accountability is to stay the course. We're going to have another poll question that's going to come up and ask you, do you make use of accountability partners? Ladies, it is wisdom in action to recognize that the road ahead is going to have rough spots, and you want to prepare for it. Have your helpers, your encouragers, have those folks in place before you hit those rough spots. Now here's I'm sorry, I almost got ahead of myself, and I don't want to forget this. The use of good accountability eliminates our tendencies to the 3 Ps. I'll say that again. The use of good accountability partners eliminates our tendencies to the 3 Ps. Here's those 3 Ps: procrastination, perfectionism, and panic. Now, we all can relate to those 3 things: procrastinating, perfectionism, and panic. And sometimes they don't look exactly like what that word sounds. They take on many faces. So it's important that we have good accountability partners who help us see that truth. In our poll, I like it here, now we have around 40% that says yes, they use accountability partners, but we got a pretty high number that's saying you don't. I really hope you will consider implementing accountability partners. Good accountability partners, couple points here. They are truthful with you, and they're encouraging. They help us toward true accomplishment. So it's not just activity, but it's truly accomplishments. That's what we're after. We can do lots of things, but all that doing doesn't necessarily bring us closer to our goals. So it's important. Let me move on to step 7. I think we're getting a little short on time. The final step in our confidence steps is to repeat. And the purpose of repeat is to keep you thriving. Living a confident, thriving life requires, ladies, that we have good, solid processes and that we use them consistently. So in conclusion, stay willing to reflect, be willing to make changes, be willing to grow yourself, and to explore. Now, I know that I've covered a lot here, so if you have missed anything, please connect with me, and I'm happy to give you my notes and to fill in any holes for you. So I have 3 things that I want to leave you with, 3 offers. The first one, I need to move the slide. The first one is that I don't do coaching sessions free coaching sessions anymore, but I'm going to offer to people who are on this webinar, I'm going to offer 4 30-minute power coaching sessions. Those are very focused, and they move forward on a specific item that you're looking to take next steps on. The thing is, they do have to occur in the month of March. The second offer that I want to make you is on my upcoming retreat. Now, I offered this a couple weeks ago when I was on a spotlight with NAPW. I'm offering it again only because it's only being offered to NAPW members. My retreat coming up in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, a great, I'm just telling you, a very serene location. It's amazing. Can't say enough about it. The retreat name is One Thing Leads to Another. And so the discount that I want to give you is 15% on a single registration and 10% on two or more. Again, that's only being offered to NAPW members. Space is limited, and the registration closes pretty soon. So I want to give you a full week to let me know if you're interested in that. If you have a leadership team you'd like to bring or a group, I'm happy to get on a call with you and talk through any questions you have. And you can find all the details on my website at onelifetothrive.com. 3 things we will cover at this retreat are about connection with yourself, God, and others, about transformation, turning those limiting beliefs into assets and into strengths. And we're going to talk about impact and the thriving life for you to have the confidence to go forward. I also just lastly want to say that if you're interested in my book, I'm having a launch party next week. Reach out to me. I'd love for you to take part in that. Thank you so much for being here. And Louise, it's back to you.
Thank you, Debbie, for a wonderful session and amazing tips to living a thriving life.
You're welcome.
Now on your screen a link to our next event, March 14th, Lead Like a Heroine and Turn Fear into Fuel with VIP member Milka Millions, a leadership expert, skilled facilitator, author, and speaker. Also, please make sure to go to napw.com e-coaching group page and join our hosts and other attendees there to continue the conversation on the group activity wall. Look out for the post-event communication with the recording of today's event and the attendee list so you can continue to network. Also, communications for all upcoming e-events. And if you're interested in submitting to be an e-coaching host, please reach out to us at the email that you see on your screen. Thank you, Debbie, again, and to the nearly 300 members who attended today's motivational e-coaching session. We look forward to seeing you next time, and please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.